How does active adult participation in early childhood education enhance children's learning and community wellness? 2 years of research by a partnership between Whanganui's Central Baptist Kindergarten and the University of Canterbury's College of Education looked at this question from many perspectives. And we found that moving the focus of children's learning from centre-based to each child with their whanau and families within the community enabled better planning and assessment and opened up new and rich understandings of the learning.
Because of the increased interactions, that increases the opportunities for teachers to learn more about what's happening in the lives of the children and families. The more often they have conversations, the more they're going to get to know and build relationship and deepen their understanding of what's happening in the children's world. So the family's community, what's happening around them and their community out there. And that then makes sense of what's happening for the child and their interests and expands all the possibilities for learning and following those interests.
And Claire's written a lovely story with Ryan about the horse racing.
We're going down to see her on the weekend. Where are you going to put it, Pops?
I always understood that it was important to communicate with the primary caregivers as they came in, and especially around the care needs of their child, and to sort of link up between home and centre that learning that was going on. But I think over throughout the research we've really seen a benefit in increasing the depth of our conversations, and we've just bringing sort of that sense of humour in as well, and not just with the primary caregivers, but where before we might think, oh, grandma's dropping off, that's not the person that we usually speak to, so we'll just say hi and show her where everything is. Now we'll stop and intentionally have a more in-depth conversation, because we know that talking to more people in the whanau means that we're getting a better perspective of the child and of their learning, and who that child is with grandma, and the things that they get up to might be quite different to the things that they do with mum and dad. And when we've got that better perspective of the child, then our being able to respond to them and their needs and to them and their learning, that depth is in there as well. And we've seen that follow through with our planning for children and for their learning, and following up with families, and that real connection between what we do in the centre and what we do in the home what they do at home has just got better and better. Yeah.
So we're concentrating on the to and who
and the from.
That's giving it, that's the giving, and the from that you're making the letter, so your name goes after the from. That was the hard bit.
Oh yeah, no, that's cool. Yeah, so it's just like before and after, so same thing.
Yeah. And post it in there and leave it in there for the postie to deliver.
That's quite hard to wait.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
No, she's really into writing letters at the moment, and she doesn't get the writing it right, because they're left-handed too.
Never can't know.
I start with relationships, which are the utmost importance, and we've found that they've been the key, not just with the parent that comes in with a child each day, but with the perhaps dad, wider family, grandparents, anyone that comes through the door associated with the child. So that's the wider family that we're talking about forming relationships with.
All right, let's go, boys.
See you.
See you.
We're always very welcoming and friendly to our families as they came into the centre. This made us increase what we were doing, be more intentional about our interactions with the parents. And because of that, we learnt so much more about the families and the children. So it was the children we were wanting to find out a lot about initially, and as it progressed, as the research progressed, we found out more about the families.
Can I write my name at the front? You can. Yes.
We're not seeing the child in isolation, we're seeing all aspects of their life, and we enrich and widen the child's experiences and their knowledge and skills, which actually takes them beyond their insular world.
The most important thing is that we're having those conversations with parents around the learning, and making sure that they are part of the learning story.
Helps with our planning. We're more informed, we're more connected with what's happening outside of the centre through those conversations and the relationships that we're having with our families.
We realised that it would be a good tool to send the cameras home with the children, and that the teachers would send the cameras home with the children. So once the cameras went home, they came back with all these wonderful photographs of what was significant and important to that family. So once we had these photographs, we met up with the parents. In my case, it was the mums. And we sat down, we went through all these photographs together. And from the photographs, all these other conversations came out. So we learnt all this other information that we wouldn't have otherwise had the opportunity to know. So from those conversations, different things linked into our understanding of the child already, and we learnt new information, and then we were able to plan in a more intentional way for that child specifically.
My research family, I sent a camera home with them, and they had the camera for about 5 days, and they came back with 605 photos. I could individualise the planning for that child. I knew the child's interests and what connected from home to here, to what she was doing.
What we've been seeing through the relationships that have developed as they move on up to us and the profiles that have the learning in it, we can see a golden thread, or maybe several golden threads woven through the child's learning and how that progresses as they move up. It may be that developing relationships is something that they've been focusing on, starting off being rather shy and reserved, relying on friends and friendships to explore the centre, through to being quite inclusive and not having to rely on friends. It could be that sort of thread that's woven through, and that's over a lengthy time, and it's throughout the centres that's happening.
We have become very open to change now. We have lots of professional discussions. We've become more intentionally reflective practitioners, and the result is that I think our practice has been enhanced, and there's been wonderful learning outcomes for children as a result of this.